Hi guys, welcome back to Gardening with Creations by DX & Co. Today I am going to get the tomato plants in the ground. So I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks on how I plant tomatoes. We're going to be putting in 4 beefsteak and 4 cherry tomato plants in this bed. I'm going to show you here in a second. But today I am going to get those in the ground, and I also am going to, while I'm doing so, test a couple of things out that we've seen around the internet. So we're going to be testing out 2 things. In fact, we're going to be testing out the fact that if you put Tums underneath your tomato plant, it says 2 tablets of Tums under your tomato plant, that it'll provide more calcium for the plants and they'll produce more fruit because they take up more calcium. And the second thing is, also I've heard the same rumor about eggshells, crushed up eggshells underneath your tomato plant. So we're going to actually test out both of those theories today. So stay tuned and we're going to go ahead and get started with that. As you can see, this is the bed. Just finished weeding it out. We got some 3 days worth of rain here, and this bed was just chocked full of weeds because it's just, the weeds love that rain. So you can see I got some partial shade going on here. That west sun will actually hit this area in the next hour or so, and they'll still get plenty of sunlight through the afternoon sun. So you can see the rest of the bed gets a ton of sunlight. So for our experiment, we're going to do with our beefsteak tomatoes are going to go in here, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them here, and then over here will be our cherry, 1, 2, 3, 4. So but our experiment, I want to make sure they're getting the equal amount of sunlight. Everything's equal. Soil, as you can see, is all equal. But more importantly, let me show you how I plant my tomato plants. Let me get them out here. Okay guys, so we are ready to do some planting. So I've got my antacid tablets, or Tums if you will, off-brand. I've got my eggshells for this experiment. I've got my beefsteak tomatoes that are ready to go in. And up guys in the back, I've got my other 2 beefsteak tomatoes. So for the purpose of this experiment, because we are doing these, I'm going to put them in my front 2 spots here, so that way we can do an easy side-by-side comparison in a later video. We'll do a Mythbusters video later on in that. And I'm going to utilize the ones that are all from the same tray, so there's no bias at all. I'm not going to use either one of the bigger ones in the back. I'll use the smaller ones that are currently in these plugs. And so we'll just take these back 2, if you will. Actually, I'll take these 2 because they seem to be equal size. So let's go ahead and get our hole dug. Now what I'm looking to do here with tomato plants, as you can see, is these particular tomato plants are tall enough that they have got a vine going all the way up. So what I'm going to do is bury it right just underneath that first leaf. You can actually trim off some of the leaves and bury it, because I want to get this down deep and give it some serious root growth. So like I said, I'm putting 4 beefsteaks in this particular section. So I'm going to go ahead and get that dug here. Okay, so I got my plug out, I got it ready to go. For this particular one, I'm going to do the Tums trick that we talked about. So these in particular, I got 2 of them. Just dropping those right down at the base of the plant is what it said. Putting the plant in there. I'm going to bury it right down to, I don't want these leaves to touch the ground, but I want it to be right around that stem so that that stem starts to root. Tomato plants are one of the few plants that will send out roots from the stem. There's theories that you lay the stem sideways so it can root and get more traction. I've never found that to be necessary. One of the things you want to know about your particular tomato plants before you start planting too deep is check the tag. Make sure that your particular variety can be one of 2 things. It can either be called an indeterminate, which means it'll grow, it's a vine type, it'll keep growing, you can prune it and it'll keep growing up and continue to produce fruit up until that first or second frost, if you will. Or a determinate variety, which means it's a bush type variety, which means it'll only grow to usually about 3 to 5 feet tall. It'll get real bushy and produce only a certain amount of fruit for you. So it's very important to know whether or not your particular tomato variety that you're planting is a determinate or an indeterminate. So this one in particular is going to be really hard to read, but you can see right there on the back there, I don't think I can get it in focus, guys, I apologize, but right here on the bottom line of this, it says beefsteak, it says indeterminate variety. So I know my cherry tomatoes also are indeterminate variety, but a lot of times if you buy them from a nursery or you read the seed packet, you'll be able to determine which variety that is. So very important to know which variety you are growing, folks, to be sure that you're growing the right variety and you're pruning it properly. So as we'll go through that some more as we go through a pruning video in a future video. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys don't miss out on that. Okay, so I've got my eggshells that I've literally been saving just for this experiment, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some of those in the hole here as we talked about. Probably about just one eggshell worth is what I'm putting in the bottom there to test out this theory. I'm going to go ahead and get my next plug out. Now again, you just kind of squeeze the sides of this and then you kind of slowly tip it over to get that plug out. This last one I'm not planting today. I'll either do a container plant with that or I'll give it away to one of my neighbors. So this one in particular, you can see it's got some great root structure going. It's not bound up. That's what I like to see. Go ahead and get this guy planted down. Teased out those roots a little bit. That's where I just kind of crumble the bottom to get the roots out. And there you have it. Two beautiful beefsteak tomatoes finally in the ground this year. Super excited about these ones. I'm going to go ahead and get these other two planted, guys, and I'll come back and show you the results. Hey guys, I was going to get these planted, but I really wanted to show you these containers that we were using. You can see the root structure in there as I've shown you in past videos, but I want to show you how easy this is. I'm barely squeezing this, and look at this thing is just kind of sliding out, kind of like jello. So I was thinking I was going to have to cut these out, right? But it's just kind of just sliding right out. So it's going slow. Got a huge amount of root growth on the bottom there. I'm going to get that planted in the ground. I'm going to bury this a little bit deeper too, continue to give some strong root structure, but I wanted to show you guys that. Okay guys, I've got all 4 of them in. Now's a good time to make sure that you don't forget to put your labels in. So I'm actually going to put 2 of them in. I'm going to put one right in between this row and right in between this row. If you got 2, that's great. If not, maybe put it right there in the middle so you don't forget which variety is growing in which spot. I do want to show you, like this one in particular, this leaf it's almost dragging on the ground. I don't particularly like that, so I'm just going to go ahead and pinch that off. That's okay, guys. It's not going to hurt the plant. It's okay. It's actually better for the plant. Tomatoes are actually what's very susceptible to something called blight. Blight is a leaf disease that once it really takes over on the plant, you're pretty much in trouble, and it's hard to come back from blight. If you catch it early enough, you might be able to prune off some of the branches, but it's really hard to come back from blight, guys. So make sure that your plant, that's why mulch is always a great idea for tomato plants, because it stops the soil from splashing up on it, and that's where blight kind of comes from, is diseases or bacteria in the soil. So just something to keep in mind, guys. And we are going to be doing some companion planting here. I wanted to do carrots in here, which are great companion plants for tomatoes. I will definitely be putting some marigolds in here. I've got them in the greenhouse, so I'll be putting them out front here. Maybe 1 or 2 in this bed just to help out, and then some in the strawberry bed next to it. And then I'm going to put some basil in this bed as well, because all of that will really help the ecosystem of these tomato plants. Help keep the bugs away, really help increase flavor. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link the companion planting video at the end of this one for you. And the other thing to keep in mind, guys, is that all tomato plants really are the same when you're planting them. So I'm going to plant the cherry tomatoes exactly like I planted these, and give them a good watering in, even though the soil is kind of wet from torrential rain in the last couple of days. Sorry, my point on the carrots, because of that rain, my carrot seeds were actually in the greenhouse, and believe it or not, I leaked in one of the windows and leaked all over the carrot seeds. So I unfortunately have no carrot seeds to plant in here. I ended up sprinkling them all out over there so I wouldn't lose them at the time. So there you have it, guys. That's planting tomatoes. So questions, comments, please comment below. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch today. Make sure you like this video, share it out to some friends. And as always, I hope you guys are staying safe, enjoying your gardens. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for some additional content to come on these in the future.